Alright, now that we can create and move objects around, let's talk about something just as important: navigating the 3D world. Now, we went over the viewport a little bit in the first video, but we're going to go a bit more in detail in this one. Think of the viewport as your camera window into the digital world you're building. Learning how to move around in that world is critical, otherwise you'll get lost, disoriented, or struggle to line things up correctly. This is going to show you how to move, zoom, switch views, and change how your objects are displayed. Once you're comfortable with this, using 3ds Max will become much easier and more fun. When you open 3ds Max, you're probably originally going to end up seeing something like this, where it's just a single view. However, if you press Alt-W, like we did in the first video, you're going to see the four viewport windows: the top view, front view, left view, and the perspective view. The top view is looking straight down at your model from the top of it. The front view is looking straight at it from the front. The left view is looking at it from the left side, and the perspective view has more depth and is closest to how we see things in real life. The perspective view is the one that you'll work in most often. You can maximize any viewport by selecting it and pressing Alt-W. You can also hover over it and press Alt-W as well. Now let's learn to move around inside the 3D space. I already showed you where the viewport buttons are, but if you need to know again, they're down here in the bottom right of your screen. Right? If you look, if you press this one right here on the bottom, the third row or the third option, it's the orbit button. You can also and more efficiently orbit around by holding the Alt key and the scroll wheel down, or the middle mouse button, and then just dragging your mouse. This lets you orbit or rotate around your scene. It's almost like flying around your object. Alright, the pan tool, which is this little hand button down here on the bottom right. You can press that, or you can hold the middle mouse button, the scroll wheel, and drag by moving your mouse left and right, up or down. It doesn't rotate it, but you can move around your screen with it. To zoom in or out, you can press the zoom button on your key, or you can more efficiently zoom by scrolling in and out on the middle mouse button or the scroll wheel. This zooms in and out of your scene. If you want to zoom in on an object, then you can select it and press the Z or Z button on your keyboard. This will zoom in and center the view on the object you have selected. If you ever feel lost in your scene or you can't find something, all you gotta do is just press C and it'll zoom to the whole screen. Or press C and it'll zoom to the whole screen. Some of the keyboard shortcuts for your views, alright? You have the P key, which I'm already in the perspective view, so let me do a different one. You have the T key, which goes to your top view, the P key, which goes to your perspective, the F key for the front view, L for the left view, or if you press V as in Victor, the V key, you'll pull up the viewport menu and you can switch your views that way as well. Press Alt-W again to toggle full screen. And I'm going to change this one back to the left view. There we go. Alright. Now, display modes. Let's talk about how your models look in the viewport a little bit. These display settings are for your convenience. They don't affect your final render. You can look at them shaded as they are now, or if you press F3, then you'll see them wireframe. Wireframe shows just the edges. It's great for checking things like geometry and lining things up. Shaded view, if you press F3 a second time to go back, shows your objects with lighting, if you have them, and their surface color. If you want to show both the shaded and wireframe, you can press F4 and that will display the edges. That way you can see the wireframe overlaid on top of your shaded view. This is helpful when you want to see both the form and structure of your model and probably how you'll be modeling most things in this class. Now, in your viewport, if you look at the top left of it, you're going to see the word perspective. You can click on it and access even more viewports. And you can, if you have cameras created, then you'll be able to select them here. If you click on standard, you can change how the models are displayed. You can select them in high quality. You can have them as an active shade using the Arnold renderer. For now, just keep it on standard. If you choose edge faces, you can change how more visualized styles, such as the flat color of the object. You can have it more look like modeling clay. Have some stylized views like graphite, colored pencil. That didn't do anything this time. Ink, or a host of others, right? But for now, let's just turn that off and go to our default shading. All right. These are cool to explore, but just stick with default shading because it's going to give you the clearest view while you're modeling. To hide the grid in the ViewCube, if you press G, you'll toggle on and off this little grid. To turn off ViewCube, the floating cube in the top right, you can go to Views, ViewCube, and then ViewCube, and then you can uncheck show ViewCube, or you can press Alt Control V. However, I would not recommend it because the ViewCube is actually really important as you're modeling and moving around. Learning how to move around in 3D space is just like learning to control a drone camera. You can orbit, zoom, pan, and switch angles. You'll use these skills every time you open 3ds Max. If you ever feel lost or your model disappears, don't panic. Just press the Z key to zoom in and reset your view.